So as we all know, we're all basically almost a month away from the February 22nd show in Saudi Arabia, and as I've said several times, it's just like it is just that good. You look at the card, and it's just. I mean, the card actually there's prelim fights on as well, but the main card is kicking off with Zhang versus Kabayel. Just let that sink in. That's a kickoff fight. That's the opening fight of the card. So it's a phenomenal card. I can't wait for it. As much as I'm looking forward to Beterbiev Bivol too, because the first fight just went like that. It was brilliant to watch. There wasn't any like crazy drama, but from a technical point of view, it was amazing. I'm really looking forward to Parker versus Dubois, or really should be Dubois versus Parker. I am making Dubois favourite, as I've said. I think that Joseph Parker, he'll do better than I think a lot of people think he will. I don't think he'll win, but I think he'll do better than a lot of people maybe give him credit for. A lot of people think it's going to be similar to the Joshua fight. I don't think it necessarily will. I think Parker will do better. He'll probably, because he's a bit more cute, certainly, than I think he will be than Joshua was that night in Wembley. But I think Joseph Parker will do a little bit better. He'll be able to last longer. But I reckon Dubois will most likely take him out mid to late rounds as well. And that seems to be a general consensus. Turkey Al Sheikh is already talking about doing Dubois versus Usyk too. A lot of people are. Dubois himself is already talking about wanting to fight the winner of Fury versus Joshua if that fight ever takes place. Stuff like that, So Dubois can say whatever he wants about. Oh, I'm not looking past Joseph Parker. Really? You're mentioning Usyk. You're mentioning the winner of Joshua versus Fury. You're mentioning. Don't mention anything until you get rid of the guy in front of you. At the end of the day, Joseph Parker. It's not like you're going in there against someone who you're expected to beat. I'm going to do a separate video on it, but Ryan Garcia has been announced for Turkey's Ring Magazine show, which is going to take place in America. He's fighting Rolly Romero. I mean, yeah, you can plan ahead because there's. I don't see how he can win that fight. Quite frankly, I don't give him a sniff of a prayer. But with someone like a Joseph Parker, yeah, he's not a bad fighter. He takes a decent shot. He's got respectable power there. He's a lot of good attributes, Joseph Parker. So let's not write him off just yet. And interestingly enough, Seconds Out have this article here, and it says Anthony Joshua fought both Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker and now makes a big fight prediction. Anthony Joshua has shared 12 rounds with Joseph Parker and 5 with Daniel Dubois and will be ringside when the two face off next month in Saudi Arabia. It says here, with both men in fine form, the title clash is an excellent start to 2025, which it is, for the sport's biggest division. Joshua is well placed to pick a winner and has announced a prediction challenge with Riyadh Season's Turkey Al Sheikh. Anthony Joshua here, it says, 22nd of February, it's going to be big. Make sure you tune in. I'm actually going to come out to Saudi Arabia and watch the fight between Joseph Parker and Daniel Dubois. Good luck to both men, me and His Excellency. We have an agreement. He picks his side, I pick my side, and we see who wins. AJ then backed Parker to win the fight and become a 2-time world heavyweight champion. He may well then target a rematch, having made it clear that he is looking to hold a belt at least one more time. So, Anthony Joshua backing Joseph Parker to win this fight. Now, I know what a lot of people are going to say, and I tend to agree. I think that could be wishful thinking on the part of Anthony Joshua. It's kind of an indication Turkey Al Sheikh is already, judging by that there, I mean, if they're both going one way, one going this way, one going that way, Turkey Al Sheikh is not picking Joseph Parker now, is he, if Anthony Joshua's got him? So Turkey sees this in the way of Dubois. I tend to agree with him. I've seen people say that the likes of Tyson Fury have been picking Joseph Parker, which that's normal. I'm not even going to critique him for that. Joseph Parker is a member of the Team Fury. Andy Lee is his trainer. Of course, of course he's going to pick Joseph Parker to win. That's someone who's not going to be impartial. And I'm not having a go at Tyson Fury for that. At the end of the day, very close. They're very close friends. He's part of Team Fury, so of course, he's going to back his own. That's fair enough. With Anthony Joshua, it's more neutral, or is it? He shared a ring with both. Now, he went the distance with Joseph Parker nearly 7 years ago now. Long time ago. Was not a great fight, bit of a stinker. And yeah, less said about that fight, the better. I wouldn't recommend you go watch it. It was not compelling viewing, to say the least. But he went 12 rounds with Joseph Parker. He got an idea of what he was dealing with, although Parker, he is a little bit more aggressive when he wants to be nowadays. He's a little bit heavier. I think he was in the 230s in that fight, so he's about 20 pounds heavier nowadays. He lasted only 5 rounds with Daniel Dubois. He beat Joseph Parker. He got annihilated by Daniel Dubois. All right. Anthony Joshua, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, there was a rematch clause in place to face Daniel Dubois should he win, should Daniel Dubois win. Joshua chose not to do that, in spite of the fact that he released a video immediately after, well, not immediately after, but days after the fight against Dubois, saying, we go again, looking to target the Dubois fight. And then saying that, we had niggles in camp. Or that was Eddie Hearn anyway. He said he niggles so that they wouldn't be going through with the fight because they didn't have enough time. Bear in mind, this fight is happening in the end of February. They were saying this. They were saying Joshua wouldn't be able to train until December. December to the end of February is plenty of time. A lot of fighters do that. So it seems for all the world like they know damn well that Joshua Dubois, stylistically, Dubois is always going to be a problem for Joshua. That just come forward style, the big heavy jab. A lot of people talk about how heavy the jab was of Dubois and how that was able to really offset Anthony Joshua. You've seen it from the first round. And crucially, he was just defensively so poor that night. A rematch with Daniel Dubois, following on from the beating he took. One, you could argue, and you'd be right to argue, he doesn't deserve an immediate rematch. Certainly not to be blown out of the water like that. And as well as that, going straight back in at 35 years old, a knockout loss like that, I mean, really, who is going to be picking him? I wouldn't, personally. Against Joseph Parker, who is nowhere near as aggressive. He's not as aggressive as Daniel Dubois. Doesn't hit as hard. He's not as physically strong. He might be heavier than Dubois, but I would imagine Dubois is the physically stronger of the two. You could see that even in the clinch against Joshua, Dubois was holding his own. And as well as that with Joshua, he has the confidence of knowing that he's already beaten Joseph Parker. He's beaten him in a fairly clear-cut decision. Parker had his rounds in there, like the 5th and 6th, but it was a clear-cut Anthony Joshua decision. There's no disputing that. So, with Joshua, I think that's wishful thinking on his end. That's him maybe looking and thinking, if Joseph Parker wins, that's the road I want to go down. And quite frankly, if Joseph Parker does win, I think Anthony Joshua needs to actually win a fight before he goes in there. I can't stand, and I mean this, I cannot stand this, because it's fairly newish in boxing. It never really happened before, other than the last couple of years, where a fighter coming in off the back of a loss. And bear in mind, it's one thing if you're like Fury Usyk, for example. Tyson Fury was a reigning champion. He had a rematch clause in place for an undisputed fight. He lost. He invoked his rematch. That's fine. You have fighters who, I'm just trying to think, just one will come to my mind when you see sooner or later. But you have maybe a champion who makes a voluntary defence, or maybe a mandatory defence, and it's a very controversial decision. The sanctioning body order an immediate rematch. Again, that's fine. That no problem there. But if you're a champion, you're giving someone a voluntary defence and they lose and they can just get an immediate rematch. Or if, you're a champion and you lose to whoever and then another fighter can just jump the queue when he's not won a fight yet. And his last fight, he was knocked out in 5 rounds, devastatingly. I don't think that's right. We're seeing it with the WBA. Nick Ball is fighting TJ Dehenny. TJ Dehenny got hit so hard in his last fight, his back blew out. Pause. It's not right. It's just not right. The WBO seem to have a little bit of integrity on that. I think that's one of the reasons why we're not getting Spence Fundora. Not that I'm complaining. Not at all. But I don't like seeing that. I really don't. And I think if Joseph Parker does win, and it's a big if, Joshua should have to fight, a top 15 opponent. He should just jump straight back in there. No. I don't think so. And this is a voluntary, so you would imagine, it is a voluntary, you would imagine that, because some people say it's not a mandatory, it is a voluntary, you would imagine Dubois got a rematch clause in place. Standard practice for a champion to do that, by the way. So, Joshua, it could be wishful thinking, in him thinking it's going to be a Joseph Parker win and hoping that he can maybe come in, have a rematch with Joseph Parker. I don't think it's going to happen personally myself, but let's wait and see. We are nearing February 22nd by the day. I'm looking forward to seeing the face-off because I've heard a few things, about the face-off. Nothing crazy, but I've heard there was some, you know, there is some tension in that face-off between Dubois and Parker. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, Joshua backing Joseph Parker to win this fight. I think that could be wishful thinking on his end. But let me know your thoughts. Am I wrong? Let me know. Hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time, people, I'll leave it there. Peace.